Hi, everyone. Good evening. I hope we're all doing well and welcome everybody that has joined so far. Uh, so it is 7:02. I think we can give ourselves some 3 minutes more, if that's okay with everyone, and then we can start off. So we'll do 3 minutes for the people who are joining, and then we'll start off. Thank you. Okay, so it is exactly 7:05 on my watch. I see we are about 33 people in the call, and so I think that we can start. We are very elated to have all of you here tonight and for taking out time out of your resting day to want to join the session and listen in to what our speaker has for us. So, thank you for coming once again. Today, we are privileged to have a very seasoned leadership executive to speak to us. He's in the name of Mr. Samuel Kumi Eyim, Esquire. I hope I got that right, sir. And he's got a very, very rich profile. And listen, when you have somebody who's got a rich profile, you need to take your time and read it. So I'm going to read his profile because it's very, very rich. So Mr. Samuel Kumi Eyim Esquire is the founder and CEO of CTL Africa Leadership and Focus Life Group. He is a John C. Maxwell certified leadership coach and a motivational teacher with a mentorship level since 2004. He's also the member of the International Federation of Coaches, ICF, a board member also of the ICF Ghana chapter. Mr. Samuel Kumi is also the facilitator of the BCA Leadership, a Pan-African executive coaching company. He is the former Group General Counsel and Company Secretary of EcoBank Group, responsible for corporate governance for the group. He was also the former legal advisor and company secretary of the Ghana Stock Exchange. And then he is held and continues to hold directorships on the boards of several companies and institutions in Africa. And currently board membership include bank and as a chairman of the University Governing Council. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Samuel Eyim has actually got 30 years, actually over 30 years experience, professional experience across the sub-Saharan sector and African countries. I am very elated to be the one to host this session tonight and to have such an, astute person be our speaker tonight. My name is Yvonne Ramal, and I think at this point we would like to see Mr. Samuel Eyim Esquire.
Hello, Yvonne. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly well, and thank you for coming.
Great. And can you see me?
We can see you very well, at least from my side. I think everybody else.
Wonderful. So I hope everybody else can see me. And I want to thank you for that introduction. I told Emmeline that you should not go and read anything there. She just mentioned my name, but she didn't follow instructions.
I actually followed the instructions. After I read the profile, I said to myself, no, I'm not going to leave out anything because the profile is very, very rich and everybody needs to, get to hear and share the same with everyone.
The risk with that is that you are set up. My mentor, John Maxwell, will say that if you are good, you don't need a long introduction. And if you're not good, a long introduction will not help you. So when you have such a long introduction, then you are in danger. But I want to thank you so much. And I want to thank the HR bar for inviting me to this meeting to discuss. And I want to thank Emmeline, my John Maxwell coach, who facilitated this. And I want to thank all of you for dedicating yourself to the service of the people of organizations. So may God bless you. Am I able to share my slides if possible?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Okay, so let me see. I'm BBC, so Emmeline, get ready to rescue me when it becomes necessary. All right, so let me share. Okay. All right. Can you see my slide?
Yes, we
Very
can.
clearly.
Good. So this evening, I want us to discuss a very provocative subject. I say provocative because as executives, I know how important our titles and our positions are to us. And more important, HR practitioners, you have the responsibility to manage this system of titles and hierarchies. You have to separate the fights in the office and so on. So I know that the idea of leading or managing or running without titles, it's totally an anathema. So, but let's see how we go, and we're going to try to break it and share. It's going to be more of a discussion. So I'm trusting that we will all come on board and share our views. So for starters, Yvonne has said too much about me, so I just move on from there. After 24 years of corporate life, in terms of formal corporate life, I came to a firm conclusion of the critical importance of leadership. And I'm a runaway lawyer, so I introduced myself as I used to be a lawyer, even though the Ghana Bar Association still collects my dues. I'm not practicing as a lawyer as such. But after 24 years and working on my professional life, mainly in the boardroom, because from the first day that I entered the corporate world, I went straight into the management room. I went straight into the boardroom as company secretary. Then at the stock exchange, the exchange was just starting, and I was just about the first lawyer. There was a first lawyer who stayed for just 6 months, and I was recruited when the stock exchange was only 6 months old. So I went straight to join the management team as the head of legal and company secretary. Therefore, I went right into the boardroom. The next assignment was a board meeting. So since that time, in 1992, I have always been in the boardroom. I've always been at the, if you like, with the management level, because as head of legal, from there, when I went to EcoBank, I joined the group at the highest level, at the group level. So it's I can say that I have not experienced all the pains of the junior staff and the struggles they have with the seniors, even though I am very close to the down, so I know what goes on. But the thing that came to me clearly after all those years was the importance of leadership. So when I was preparing my exit transition, top on the agenda is what can I do in leadership? So I made a decision in 2016 to leave the bank. Everybody thought I was crazy because I had to leave so much on the table and go and venture into something that didn't make sense. For many people, my group board chair and group CEO invited me to Lagos and sat me down and said, "What's wrong with you? What are you trying to do here? Where are you going? Nobody has asked you anything." And I said, "Well, I want to go and do something around leadership." My group CEO looked at me and said, "Sam, be serious. I mean, what is this?" Anyway, so that's the story, my story with leadership. And I decided from 2016 to study leadership. Actually, before 2016, I got certified by John C. Maxwell as a leadership coach and trainer. And my whole objective was to study leadership and to understand, because I found critically that whilst we were growing the bank, every time we had a good leader in the country, in the subsidiary, in head of the business, in the unit, things were fine. And every time, the leadership was a problem, when things were a problem, results are not coming, the staff are not happy, things are not going well. At the end of the day, it was the leadership that was the problem. And I found that there was not much attention given to the development of leadership. And we'll look at some of the things. We sometimes misunderstand what it is. But that is what led me into the study of leadership. And my objective in life is to study, learn, and to share. And that's what I've been doing for the past 7 or so years. We do this through CTL Africa Leadership, and CTL Africa Leadership is basically a training, leadership development, and a coaching organization. And we've done quite a few things since 2016, 17 with different organizations, and we continue to grow. And at the end, if you have some time, I will share a few of one of our major events that we've been running for 8 years with you. But we have running for the last 3.5 years, every weekend on Saturday at 7 p.m. like this time, what we call the leadership platform. And this is a free platform where we discuss leadership, invite different people to share thoughts on leadership. And all the videos are in YouTube and you can check them out. And we go to organizations, do team building. We've worked for several organizations in the country and having coaching executives in about 8 countries in Africa now. We invite you to look at our website. So enough about that. What are we going to do this evening? Quickly, we are going to try in the next 35 to or so minutes to answer 3 basic questions. These are not new questions. I'm sure some of you have answered them over and over and over and over. What is the true essence of leadership? What is leadership all about? Briefly, we will not go into, because as you know, thousands and thousands of definitions are going. So we're not focusing so much on the definitions, but what is the essence of leadership? Then we want to ask the question, have job titles outlived their usefulness in organizations? We want to discuss. And then we want to ask the question, what can we as HR practitioners do in the light of the discussions that would come up? So those are 3 questions we want to answer as we go along. All right. At this point, I just want to pause, and I'm going to give, let's say, maximum 2 minutes. I'm bringing up a few questions, and I want you to, if you can, maybe take a piece of paper on your iPad or iPhone, just in 30 seconds each, answer these questions. And once we finish, just write down your answers. You can also write them in the chat. And when we go through those questions, there are 4 of them. And let's say 30 seconds each, whatever comes to the top, just write your answers. And at the end of the 2 minutes, I want us to maybe on mic and share some of your answers before we continue. So the first question I want you to answer for me is, who constitutes the leadership in your organization? Who constitutes the leadership in your organization? You can write in the chat or just write your answers down, and then we'll come and discuss. So I just pause for 30 seconds for you to answer that question for us. Who constitutes the leadership in your organization? Number 2, who are the true leaders in your work and personal circles? In your work and personal circles, who are the true leaders? And we pause for just 30 seconds again for reflection. You can write down your answers to that also. And we're going to come back and discuss this for just a few minutes, your answers. And number 3, are you doing what you are doing now because you are truly leading, or because of the position you hold? And here I just want you to reflect on your role, what you're doing now. Is it because you hold a position and you have to do it, or because you are truly actually leading and this is what you would like to do? And the last one, what can you do to lead within your communities, general, whether it is your HR community, your church community, your family community, your country community? What can you do to lead within your communities you live in and work in, regardless of your position? What can you do? So those are the questions I want us to reflect upon. And let me give you 30 seconds to reflect. And I want us to share our thoughts. All right, good. So if you don't mind, you can put them in the chat. And Okay, so I have Doka says, I think that's to the first question. Those who constitute leadership are ESCO members, board of directors. I have Selassie, who says the most influential and results achieving members of the team, ones who influence span across the organization. Okay, I see Ronaldo's son. Question 1. Those who constitute the leadership, 1, my superiors. 2, some superiors and myself, as to the second question. And question number 3, it says the former. Okay. And then number 4, quite a number of things, I guess. All right, so let's see the quite a number of things. But those are the answers we have in the chat. I'm sure there a few more are coming. But if you have put down something that is not in the chat, please let us give ourselves a few minutes. I'm just going to stop share for a moment, and let's discuss. Share with me some of your thoughts to any of the questions. We take 1 or 2. Yes. Anybody? Just unmic yourself and share. Any thoughts? Okay, let me see. I see some things coming through in the chat. So let me. All right, I see Eric says, who constitute leadership is dictated by the organogram org chart. Okay, and he says one can lead from middle or from front or from behind the pack. Okay, all right. Anybody wants to give us some thoughts before we go on? All right. So please talk to me. You make me feel like an orphan. Yes, I'm an orphan though, but please don't make me feel it. Talk to me. All right. You can raise your hand and talk, please. Nobody wants to talk to me. Yvonne, you want to talk to me?
I was looking forward to hear what I've been doing a lot of talking. I was looking forward to hear another voice. Please, do you have anyone who wants to? Selassie Kumalo. I'm not sure if you want to, give us an idea. And I think that the Ronaldo's son, quite a number of things, I guess. I'm actually interested in the quite a number of things, I guess.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if you want to elaborate a little bit about that.
Okay.
I think we're putting him on the spot. He will come back later.
Yeah, so it's okay. It's fine. And it's good too, because I know in many of our organizations, sometimes we're not
Ronaldo's son has raised his hands.
Ronaldo's son. Where is his father or mother?
Ronaldo's son, please. We'd like to hear your name, your the details you have to the
Ronaldo's son. Share a bit.
He himself is in Saudi Arabia, so yeah.
All right. Yes.
Okay, so the number of things I was talking about is, when you look within our communities, there are a lot of societal problems that we could, solve or come together as a group of individuals and then tackle, bordering on sanitation, youth development, and what have you. So those things, I don't think you really need a position or a title, to start these initiatives. So that was why I said quite a number of things in our local communities. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you all. But if you can see at least some of the written answers that have come, let's take that to be representative. Those who constitute leadership in our organization is the ESCO, is the board. And the other one that is the most influential and result-achieving members, well, we don't know who they are, but let's assume they are the ones that brings the money. Then my superiors, those are the ones who constitute the leadership. And here, who constitute the leadership is dictated by the organogram. Now, so these few responses actually reflect, if we're doing a big pool, I'm sure these ideas will be the ones that reflect, because when I go into organizations, for example, and I say, we focus on leadership development. And then some of the answers I get is, oh, our ESCO, we have done a lot of leadership for our ESCO already. We don't need, as then I say, well, I'm not talking about the ESCO, I'm talking about everybody. And then they was like, oh no, but leadership development is not for everybody. It's just the top people, the seniors that need leadership development. And that rhymes true because of our concept of leadership. So what I'm going to do following this is just to, let me share my slides back, is to just do a quick summary of what we have as a full course that we do for organization. It's like a 5-day course that we do called the leadership mindset. But I'm just going to do this in 5 minutes. So this topic we're talking about just I talked to you about the leadership platform we do every week. And one of the things we encourage on the leadership platform is that every month we encourage people to read a book. So since January, we've been reading a book a month, and those who are following are actually sending me a lot of messages and saying this is helping them, because we have another program called the Groove Journey, and we take 10 to 15 executives, leaders, and then we take them through a 10-week program. And one of the things that is challenging for these executives who join the program is the reading, because part of that program is to read. So we're encouraging the reading because statistics show that many of us after school, we don't read again anything that is not related to work. But that is a big challenge. So every month we read a book, and 2 months ago we read a book called The Leader Who Had No Title. I'm sure some of you may have seen it. And if you haven't read this book, I'm encouraging you, in the light of what we're discussing, to look for Robin Sharma's book, The Leader Who Had No Title. And the whole essence of this book is that organizations are not optimizing the resources within the organization because of our restricted definition of who a leader is. And if you're not on top of the organogram, you're not a leader. And we're not giving you enough resources. We're not giving you enough respect. We are not even, recognizing you enough because you're not a leader. And the point of this book, and which Robin Sharma has been teaching across organizations, is that you don't need a title to lead, and everybody can lead. And this is also something John Maxwell has been teaching a lot. So let me zoom in from there on the end. I want to encourage all of you, please pick that book and read. As HR people, you would change your perspective of how you handle your people, be totally different, because our stories is written in the form of a story, stories of people in organizations who have refused to go to the ESCO level and have kept to their job and are doing excellent work, and organizations recognize them and they just want to do what they love. Now, so what is our mindset on leadership? As we said, a lot in the organizations, leadership is the hierarchy, is the board, is the ESCO, is CEO, is managers, is senior managers. These are the leaders. And I saw a book on, I think it's civic education for our schools, and they're teaching who are your leaders. Then part of the book was the president, the ministers, parliamentarians, DCs, the police officer, and And so there's a list of people who are listed as your leaders. And that child learning civic education from the beginning, his concept of leadership is just somebody holding a position. And that is a big problem because of the importance of leadership to our society, to organization. Because as John Maxwell says, everything rises and falls on leadership. If our concept of leadership is not correct, we are not going to get things right. Now, what we are finding in our country today with the mess we are seeing around us is a concept of leadership that says its position is like our chieftaincy system, where when you are a chief, the rest of us should carry you on a palanquin and drive you around. No, I love our culture in so many respects, but the concept of the leader is the one that all of us serve, and who should be given all the benefits and who should be given all the privileges. That is what will drive a whole parliament to decide that there's too much traffic in town. We will not solve the traffic, but what will you do? We will do a law that will exempt us from the speed limit and we can drive anyhow across. That is a result of a wrong mindset of leadership. If you have that kind of leadership, organization is not going to work. And John has this concept of the lid on your leadership, which says the higher you climb, the more leadership you need. The greater the impact you want to make, the greater the influence you need. Whatever you will accomplish is restricted by your ability to lead others. And this chart here is just a quick illustration of if you're competent, technically competent, let's say on the scale of 1 to 10, you are scoring 8, 9, but your ability to lead is restricted at 1, your effectiveness is limited. And with the same competency, technical competency level, if you can improve your ability to lead yourself and lead others, automatically your effectiveness increases. And that is the lead. And there are so many people whose lead on leadership is limited because we've given them a position and they don't live up to that position. The people under them are more effective and they can lead better than those who have been given the titles and the positions. And then there is chaos. And we are losing people because the system of leadership is not correct. All right. So quickly, there are 1,001 definitions of leadership. The one that I want to work with for the purpose here is John Maxwell's definition. True measure of leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So yes, you can have a position, which is good, but if you're not having any impact, then you're not leading. And it says, he who thinks he's leading and no one is following is only taking a walk. I think this is a saying that many of you may have heard. The point is that to lead, first you lead yourself. And the second thing is that are people following you, no matter what your position? And there's some people who are occupying positions in organizations and nobody cares what they say because of their character, because of who they are, because of what they do. But we still call them leaders because they have the position. Another statement says leadership is not a position or title. It is action and example. It is what you do. It is what you are doing. That is what makes you a leader and not your position or title. But we'll come back to that. Now, the leader, great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, always about the goal. It is about what they want to achieve. It's the difference they want to do. That is more important. It is not about the role. It is the goal. What do they want to achieve? What do they want to do? Look at people like Martin Luther King. We quote him all the time. Is he well known because of the title he held? What was his title, by the way? Nobody cares about his title. We all, I have a dream. The guy wanted to make a difference. Nelson Mandela, Is he revered because of the title president? The guy was revered before he was made president. So great leaders, Madam Teresa, these people don't set up to become leaders. They just set out to make a difference. And if organizations can understand that people who want to make a difference in the organization are the people we should begin to look out for and to begin to encourage and see who are the people who are making a difference instead of the system we have now, that would help us. I think I would, John says leadership is influence. This I will skip through quickly. There are different methods that we use to influence. I'm not going to go through them. The one, force, intimidation, manipulation. Now, this is what we create with the current system of hierarchies. Because I'm on the top, this is what I want done, and you either do it. If you don't do it, it's my way or the highway. And we use different methods to manipulate people to be able to do things, sometimes against their will, but because we have the title. And the other one is position. But these are the order of if you like, the top one is the worst form of influence, force, then intimidation, manipulation, and position. Then the next is exchange, where both are winning something. But as we move on, persuasion is better than exchange. And the highest form of leadership is respect. This is where people follow because they respect you, because of what you're doing for them, for the organization, and they respect you. And that is where people like Nelson Mandela, Kwame Nkrumah, Martin Luther King, Madame Teresa, and all who we revere, we respect them because of who they are, not because they order us to do things, not because they have titles. So quickly, these are some of the myths that we've built around leadership, which doesn't help us. Management myth, and we don't have the time to go through the differences between management and leadership. Briefly, leadership is about the people. It's about your ability to influence, inspire, motivate, lead change. That's leadership. Management is about resources. I give you X amount of resources, and you are so efficient, able to translate them into Y. That is management. And management, whilst leadership is about change, management is about maintaining the status and organizing and optimizing the use of resources. Both are important. You need management and you need leadership. The other thing is entrepreneurship. Because I set up this business, I'm the leader, and everybody must listen to me. But sometimes there's somebody who works within the organization. In my own organization, there are young people working with me who are doing much, much better. They are greater ideas than myself. Okay, but because I am the entrepreneur and I set up my business, who are you to tell me what to do? Then there's the knowledge myth. And for us, this is the big one. And when you go to do training and offer training, the first thing the young people are asking you, will I get a certificate? Because a certificate is what shows that I know something. And therefore, whether I know it or not is not important. The most important thing, I have the certificate to show. But we privilege knowledge, which is good. Knowledge is not bad. But because I'm the chartered accountant, I'm a chartered HR, so I should be given the position because that is what you need for the position. And there are so many who are chartered, all sort of things. And when we were in the law school, we had a lecturer who, and part of the course, he says that the law says that the law is in the bosom of the judge. Okay, because the judge is supposed to know all the law. And so we say the law is in the bosom of the judge. And he says sometimes you appear before a judge, and the law is not only in his bosom, but it's not in any part of his body at all. So some judges who have no clue of what is before them. And it is the same with some of us in our positions. We've been given positions and we have no clue. Then there's a pioneer, Meba Hache, MBA, and then the position myth. Now, these are all myths around leadership, which we have institutionalized within organizations, and it's not helping us. I mean, this is John Maxwell has a book on the 5 levels of leadership, and he talks about the minimum, the lowest level of leadership is your position. It's just like when you get married, you become a husband, you become a wife. That's the lowest level. The next is the work. What are you going to do? So position gives you opportunity to lead, but the position doesn't make you a leader. The other things, I mean, when you have a position, people will follow you because they have to. That's what the rule says. You are the boss. But the highest level of leadership, as we have indicated, is respect. And this runs through the level where people follow you because they want to, because of the relationship they have with you, or because of what you've done for them, which is the production level, and so on and so forth. So position is important, but it is the lowest level. Okay? So now let's quickly zoom to, I see that time is running so very fast. Okay? But I hope we're making some progress. I'll make it quickly so that we can discuss. Now, I call this the tyranny of hierarchies and positions. Case 1. I mean, one organization I worked for, there was this driver who was very good. I mean, you send him anywhere, he's just good, and he has, the sense of duty and all that. And we sat in the management meeting and said, this guy is so good. He's been driving for 20 years. We have to promote him and make him a chief driver. And as chief driver, he will manage all the drivers, and he didn't have to drive anymore. So he was made a chief driver. And I promise you, less than 2 years into the role, the guy came and said, no, I don't want to do this. Why? He said, I prefer to drive. No, but you've been driving for 20 years. Yes, but that's what I want. But with our hierarchical position mindset, you've driven for 20 years, leave other people to drive and you manage them. But that's not what he wants to do. Well, if you're not going to hold that position and you become a driver, then you're going to have a salary of a driver, not the salary of a chief driver. And the guy was like, but I'll be doing the work. He says, no, because this is a hierarchy. In another situation, we had somebody who was promoted to a situation, promoted to a new position, and he has a promotion, and we looked at the salary scales, and by the salary scales, although he had a promotion, he was not going to get any increment in his salary. And it was crazy. He says, okay, then take your promotion. I don't want it. Why should I get a promotion and I have no increment in my salary? I'm sure you guys are HR and you will understand some of these things happen. We've created a system of hierarchy and titles and positions, which sometimes limit our ability. So what are some of the issues? And you can read, there are several articles on this debate about the titles. But the titles, is somebody talking to me?
Please mute yourself if you're not speaking. Don't interrupt with the presenter, please. Thank you.
All right. The titles actually originated from the royalties, the kings, and so on and so forth. That's where titles originated, moved to the army, where they needed the command and control. And then we adopted it into organizations since we started doing bureaucracy as a system of organization, and we created titles for good purpose so that we can have certainty, clarity of authority, and so on and so forth, mimicking the military and mimicking the chiefs, the kingdoms and the kings, and so on and so forth. But over time, today, the debate is, are titles and positions losing their usefulness? A few of the points, and I'll go through them quickly. What happens is that titles, as you said, create hierarchies and superpowers. So the people, once they occupy the position, it goes with power, it goes with authority, and people use this to create problems for other people. You don't know me, I'm the boss. Okay, you wait for me. evaluation will come. I'm the one who will sign off on your promotion. And people use it for all sorts. Why? Because he has a position. Hierarchy and titles and position encourage competition to the top. And I've seen in my life, corporate life, horrible things happen. In fact, in our parts of the world where we believe in all these jujus, people will go a long way. In fact, there was something, there was a case that I was part of as a disciplinary case where somebody went to the church in a prayer meeting and prayed, asked the pastor to pray because his boss was tyrannizing him. He should cast the fire of God on top of the boss who was tyrannizing her in her work. And they had to bring this person to disciplinary committee. I mean, people go all sort of ways. The point is that people use all means to be able to either knock people out or something. And because it's competition to the top gives you some benefits. We use title to drive respect. You're the CEO, so we respect you. You're the cleaner, so nobody will respect you. And we respect you based on your hierarchy and titles. And this creates a false sense of identity because I'm part of ESCO. You know, I should be this, I should have that, I should have that. And what has happened is that when you leave that ESCO position, and I've left the corporate world and I've seen some of my seniors, I meet them in the plane when I was group general counsel, I meet them in the plane. When they were bosses, they want to fly first class, business class, and people have to go and check them in. Today, that they left that position, even the economy class is a problem. And I used to see them in economy and I would go to business. And this was my boss. And then it creates a false sense of esteem. And so many people are not able to bear it. And that's why a lot of people die after they leave the work. It becomes a currency for bargaining. So they give you a title. What is the title you are giving me? What's the money that is going with it? Then it creates an attachment, more benefit, higher risk. And because I am in this position and giving me this position, I have to be very careful because if I make some too much noise, they're going to take me out and I'm going to lose this. And doesn't enable people to give up their best. Titles can buy power, but yeah, no guarantee for your wisdom. And the worst thing is that it creates a scarcity mentality. I've seen organizations where there's so much hierarchy. They say that, oh, there's only one position for this position. So you've been here, yes, you are good, but we can't promote you because the person occupying that position has to move before we can promote you. So even though the guy is good, because of the hierarchy, we can't promote him. And so what happens? We lose people that way. Now, just two quick quotes to reinforce this. It is not a title that honors men, but men that honor titles. Niccolo Machiavelli. Titles don't honor. And I used to have a CEO who says he doesn't want job descriptions. And there was a big fight in the organization. Why don't you want job description? He says, what is the job description of a CEO? Tell me, if you tell me the job description of a CEO, then I'll give you your job titles. I don't believe in job descriptions. Your job is the legal officer. You have to know what you have to do as a legal officer. Why should I tell you what you do as a legal officer in the organization? So it is men that honor title. Two legal officers will lead that department totally differently. Somebody will minimize that department and somebody will enhance it. It is not a title. It is who the person is. Number two, people don't follow titles. They follow courage. It is what you are able to do that attract people to follow you. So, and this is another quote from Mark Templeton, who says, never confuse the hierarchy that you have, that you need to manage complexity with the respect that people deserve. Because that's where a lot of organization go off track, confusing respect and hierarchy, and thinking that low on hierarchy means low on respect. And this is exactly what titles and hierarchies create for us. So the next question for us is, what do? We need to begin to build a culture, because a title, we need a new cultural shift. And I picked this from a liberationist article, and I'll just leave that for you, because it's trying to compare what we can do with title, which create a culture of scarcity, with a culture of abundance, where we free up a bit the environment and understand that the leadership is not just about titles and hierarchies, and allow people the space to speak out, the space to enable them, the space to be autonomous and think for themselves, and let people get involved in the organization and the decision-making and the communication process. Titles divide and conquer. When we free the environment, we build and unite. Now, another quote for your consideration: if you approach the ocean with a cup, you can only take away a cup full. If you approach it with a bucket, you can take away a bucket full. Now, titles are limiting us as cups. When we can understand a better concept of leadership, where we are rewarding people who are making things, who are creating things, who are delivering, as somebody said, where we have a system where we are recognizing more performance instead of just the titles and position, we will be going to the ocean with a bucket full. So what can we do as HR people? Now, I have a few thoughts. I will just run through them and we'll close. I will open up for the discussion. Now, I think HR has a big role, because you're the ones who have the burden of managing these titles and all the fights. And I've seen situations where when I joined one organization, there was a long hierarchy of titles. And so you have to be on this position 4 years. After that, you do evaluation. Next 4 years, you move to the next, you move to the next, you move to the next. And these days, the young people who are coming into the workplace have no time to wait for 4 years to be promoted to whatever. They want to perform, deliver, and they want to be rewarded and recognized. If I came in today and I'm delivering the results, why shouldn't I be rewarded? So a new CEO comes and says, no, this is not helping us, because there was so much fight about the titles, and I've been here for 4 years and I've not been promoted. And somebody was employed because he negotiated. He looked at the title and negotiated, and he was put on a high level. My experience is more than him. There was a lot of fight. So he decided that no, all these titles are not helping us. Now we will just call your roles. So you are a risk manager, you are a lawyer, you are a human resources person, you do human resources, you do this. Now, that was also a big fight, because people didn't want to change, because we want the title. We want senior manager, we want principal manager, we want assistant general manager, we want principal general manager, deputy CEO, and all those titles. Because if I'm just a CEO, so now, then he changed order and said, okay, this manager thing, I want to change it. I want to call everybody officer. Hey, there was a fight. Why? Because officer is a low rank. Then he says, but you guys call me CEO. The O stands for what? It's officer. So is it the officer that matters or the manager that matters? Now, so I want you guys to think about it. Organizations have started thinking through these things and trying to find new ways. So what can we do to help? Just quick random thoughts, and I want your views on this, because this is just provoking the discussion, and I want us to discuss. Start by being honest. All of us, we should be honest with ourselves. The employees are looking at us, and the titles don't actually freak them up. At best, it's just helping them to find some way to compete. Titles should enable behavior rather than limit participation. The team or organization's purpose is what should drive us. Whatever we are, and some organizations have actually started asking people to create their own titles. Because the most important thing that you're a nurse and you work in the hospital, all this hierarchy of it is not too important. Just create a title you want. And so some people are creating fun titles for themselves. Let's create a system where the labeling is labeling for a purpose, creating participation instead of limiting it. And if we have to have a hierarchy, by all means, let's have them, but let's have fewer levels. In some of the organizations, there's so many levels that it's even difficult to manage them for you yourself as HR. The other thing HR can do is help broaden the salary range. Because there are some people who are excellent middle managers. They don't want to go to your ESCO. They want to do what they are doing well. But because your salary range is restricted, they've hit the top and they don't know anywhere to go. But they are your best operations people. They are your best risk people. But because of some restrictions, their salary is limited. And I see so many people moving around and leaving the organization, losing good people, and your HR people will call it what they call it, the exit with regret or something, regret exit and things like that. But you regret, but you don't do anything. Why did they go? The other thing is we have to clarify authority and delegation. In some organizations, when the boss is not there, nothing gets done. Everybody is waiting for the boss because all the decision is with that person and he has the authority. You go and do something without that title and you are in trouble. How? You signed? This only CFO can sign on this. But the CFO was not there. Yes, even if he's not there, just wait. I remember one day I caused confusion in one of my organizations because I hate signing. And they have created this system where every little expense, one senior person or the other will sign. I've talked, guys, let's stop this. They don't want. So one day, most of the seniors were not there. And there were a pile of expenses they brought on my desk. I look at it, I say, I'm not signing. And the whole organization was a standstill. I say, I'm not signing. This CFO doesn't want to change the system because she wants to control everything. I am not signing. I don't want to sign on all this expense. I don't have time for this. So they sat there for 2 or 3 days until they came, and there was a big confusion in the organization. The CEO calls us and said, I said, guy, this is not helping. Somebody has traveled. He has all these little tickets, and I have to go through them and sign because I am senior. What kind of thing is that? Why can't some of these things be cut off? Things can just get to a head. We need to redefine authority as a teamwork and not as individuals. If we can do that, find a way around it, it will help us. We should promote inclusivity rather than exclusivity. This idea of juniors and seniors, it's not. We should create space. There's some juniors who have more ideas that will help us, and we go to that management meeting and they are not at the table. We go there, we discuss, we send them when they are sitting at the kitchen and they say, but these seniors, what were they thinking at all? It's just like our parliamentarians. What were they thinking at all when they were sitting in the parliament and trying to create this law for themselves? What were they thinking? Because they just have the authority. And we need to be aware that whatever we do, influence is contagious. And you need to communicate to your managers to understand, to create a space. And these are some of the things that I think can be done. All right. So I'm just going to knock it off from here. Just a couple of final quotes. Stephen Covey says, people with a scarcity mentality tend to see everything in terms of win or lose. And this is what happens. Because there's only one CFO, there's only one general manager, there's only one position. And so everything you're doing is win or lose. The more principle-centered we become, we believe other people's success add to rather than detract from our life. So there are some managers who would just undercut their juniors because they don't want them to be projected in that exco room, in that boardroom. The genius who are bringing the money when the bonus time comes is the people with the title who get the bonus. And this is even worse with group thing. The group head will get a bonus because some countries have made money, and those in the other countries that didn't make money don't get the bonus. But he is sitting out there, he's a group boss. Because of his title, he gets a bonus. The others don't get. The final quote to end this is, the true leader serves people, serve their best interest, and in so doing will not always be popular, may not impress, but because true leaders are motivated by loving concern rather than a desire for personal glory, they are willing to pay the price. So as HR practitioners, you have a challenge. You have a challenge to lead some of these discussions. It's not going to be popular. You may need to educate yourself a bit more and find ways to bring change and innovation into the organizations. It's going to be challenging, but hey, if you're going to be a leader, you have to brace it up. And that is my presentation for you. I just want to quickly mention to you our upcoming event. We call it Live to Lead. We've been running Live to Lead as a leadership conference this will be our 8th year. More than 4,000 leaders have enrolled onto Live to Lead. This is actually a John C. Maxwell leadership conference, which we simulcast here in Ghana. And we add other speakers from Ghana to speak about this. And this year we are speaking about leading for transformation. And this idea is about, the type of leadership that will drive our organizations is going to be top on the agenda. Change minds, change lives. How leadership can be used to transform our mindset and our lives, our organization. And so I want to encourage you. We will share, if you guys permit us, we will share the information. Several organizations come, the banks, most of the banks, bring a lot of their people, financial institutions, other organizations, and we will be prepared to discuss that also. It's coming up in October, so please don't exhaust your budget. Make room for some of your leaders to attend. It's so powerful, and I think Emmeline will probably be a best position because she was our MC for our last conference, and she's a John Maxwell coach, so she knows what Live to Lead can give. So I want to encourage you, actually, she's part of the team that is organizing Live to Lead. So I want to encourage all of you to leave part of your budget for it. We can share the details later on. But for now, thank you very much for indulging me on your platform. Let's talk now.
Wow, thank you so much. This has been a great session, very informative. We are really grateful and privileged to have you share all this knowledge with us. So team, do we have any comments or questions? We can just take them briefly. I see it's already 8:04, but we can make some, 10 minutes or so for some questions and comments, please.
Okay, so I have a question from for Sam. Thank you, Sam, for the enlightening. I mean, I've been in leadership coaching for a long time, but so many things you've shared today are the first time I'm hearing of it. And narrowing down to the HR practice, it makes me rethink our decisions and how we manage our people, especially when it comes to unusual ways of leadership. Then it reminded me of a question. Some time ago, somebody was engaging me and asked me a question. Well, I think it was rhetoric, but it got me thinking. He said, looking at the big entrepreneurs in the world, and he used Jeff Bezos, for example. I think there was a discussion on LinkedIn where people were referring to his leadership as excellent and what have you, and then people began to bash the person that made that post, saying that we are overhyping Jeff Bezos as the leader and forgetting that he's not the one that is actually making the brand Amazon, but we have people who are executing from the shop floor, before you get to ESCO. They're the ones at the warehouse, they're the ones doing the hard job and all of that. And so somebody asked me, I said, listen, who do you think really creates wealth? Is it the owner of the business or the people he has hired? 2, do we think that the compensation system we run, which is global, where, like you said, those in the higher hierarchy positions are being the gap between the compensation of those in the positional highest level of leadership, and then those below is so wide. And you have people asking me, Emma, why would a CEO who can afford to take his child to the hospital be given a bigger package of health insurance? And the driver who has more kids is being paid so small and given a little when it comes to insurance package. So normally we discriminate. I don't know about other companies where I've worked. They normally will discriminate the packages, saying that the higher you go, the more you have. But then, if the one on the ground doesn't have peace of mind and you expect him to deliver, how do you want him to work? So I don't know about your mindset when it comes to how we compensate. And I'm sure your driver story was trying to speak to you, but I wanted to please enlighten us. The compensation system, how we motivate, is it leadership? Should leaders earn so much more and give so little? Or
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that? Thank you.
Thank you, Emmeline, for that. And I mean, you're spot on. The questions you are asking are the questions I'm trying to raise for us to think about. And when I was in corporate life, one day my boss told me, "Son, you're a socialist." I said, "I'm not a socialist." At one point at the ESCO, they brought a bonus package. And they said some of the ESCO people were like, "Look, bonus is not for everybody. It's just for top 5%. I just went ballistic. I mean, I don't know where it came from, because when I sense injustice, that's one of the things that I just went ballistic. I said, "Guys, what are you talking about? You want to change the bonus system and just limit it to ESCO? So all the people who are running around in the streets and doing all this donkey work, we sit here. It doesn't make sense to me." But you see, because we have created this system for ourselves, and we perpetuate it. And sometimes we criticize our political leaders, but it's the same mentality. So what we are asking is leadership, and John Maxwell says, the true essence of leadership is to add value to people. So those of us who have got the privilege of positions should begin to think of how we can slowly ease up the system so that people can be rewarded based on what they love to do and they're doing it well. So if somebody decides that, look, I just love to clean and I will just make this organization so beautiful. I will arrange, I will do the flowers. And we know some people now, they are so good, they will clean up the place nicely and they set up everything for you. That's what I want to do. But because I am not a manager, my child should not go to school. Those of us at senior positions should begin to think about it. I think it is wrong. Personally, it's one of the fights I always fight, and fighting on behalf of house helps and house girls and this. If you are not treating the people who are working for you well, how do you want them to treat your customers well? A lot of the customer service issues we have is because some of our frontline people are frustrated. Okay, they are the ones bearing the brunt. I worked in the bank and I know how customers can harass the cashier or the frontline because some systems are not working. And somebody is a CTO and is getting some packages and he doesn't feel the heat. Let me tell you an example. When I went to Tanzania, I've been running away from law. I went to Tanzania to help set up the bank. West Africa Bank, this was EcoBank. We thought we were the best in West Africa. And once I got into Tanzania, I found that we're far away behind. Everybody on the street is having a Visa card. Dar es Salaam is huge. You go and sell EcoBank and they ask, "Okay, do you have Visa card?" I said, "No, at that time we didn't have Visa card for new subsidiaries." I called the head office. They said, no, somebody sit at the top. He says, "No, you're not going to get Visa card. No, it's a new subsidiary." As everybody on this market has a Visa card, they will not listen. The problem is that those sometimes at the top, they don't feel the heat. Those at the bottom who feel the heat too, they won't compensate you well. So I think it's wrong. The wealth is created by all of us. Let's find a system where we are rewarding. What we are doing now is that we are rewarding people because of the position. And if you're a CFO, in fact, when we even do job evaluation, CFO's job is grade something. And the person who is selling and bringing the money is not. And very interesting, the CEO will put all the numbers together and come and sit and then present the report and say, oh, this year I've done very, very well. My profit has increased from this to this. But he never went on the street. He's never sold any product. But he is there and they are praising him as a CEO, sitting in the boardroom and they give him a big bonus. It doesn't make sense. And we need to begin to think through them to create equity into the system. Perpetua.
Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you, Sam.
I hope it helps though, but Perpetua
Very
is...
much, very much.
Yes,
Thank you.
please. Please, what I would like to also add is sometimes there are some responsibilities or outputs that we cannot quantify, but they are much of high risk. And that is why certain positions are well compensated than the other. The person who sat down to say, okay, let's decide to put 3 people here instead of 2. Let's decide to put that person from here to that place. There is some kind of scientific calculations that perhaps the eyes cannot calculate. But then these decisions, if they go wrong, the whole organization goes wrong. That is why we cannot play with the capacity of these high-profile people. Mentally, what they are putting in, the driver may go to the house and sleep, but it can take a whole leader 7 days to come out with strategy for next year. And this cannot be quantified by who was out there to sell, who was out there to drive the car. The decision to even buy that particular car and assign roles to these people is something that we cannot play with. However, government of Ghana is doing so well when we come into compensation or benefits or motivation. I sit in the office as an HR. I receive more than the driver who is out there. However, when he goes on the field and comes back, the allowance he gets, if he should make 3 or 4 times the trip, perhaps he's exceeding my salary. So as much as his salary is very small, his role has been placed in such a rank that based on the assignments he undertakes, he is motivated to do more. So we shouldn't just look at it from the salary perspective. We should look at it from the output, the motivation, the small things that come out of it. I have an assistant manager. If that person goes to the field to go and gather data for analysis, the allowance that person makes, if he should hit the field for more than 5 days, he is almost running around my salary. So I think, I'll say thank you to the government sector, or maybe they are doing well. Let me say they are doing well instead. But then we should not play with decision making. It is a very valuable thing that we can never underestimate. So as much as they sit in their comfort, as much as they drive the big cars, as much as they are taking care of with 100% health insurance, the risk involved in what they do, if it goes wrong, what can happen to the whole organization can never be compared to the role of the driver. Also, in terms of, we're talking something about, sorry, it has escaped me. So I think when I remember, I'll come back. So, all right.
All right.
Thank you.
Good. Now, thank you so much. And that is the debate that we all have to embark on. So it is just very well taken. Now, the point that we are trying to make here is that can organization look at, like you're saying, what is the output? What are you bringing in? Now, let's say somebody is the strategic person. He sat in somewhere. He decided that we should go and mine somewhere. Yeah, if we go into that mine and things don't go well, it's a problem. But a guy who goes deep into the mines, when things don't go well, he dies. What is a system that is recognizing that risk? So if we are talking risk, yes, the job evaluation system should look at all the points and the risks that are involved. But it should not just be because there are some people who are in the positions who are not taking any decisions. They're not making any strategic decision at all. It's just because they have the title, because we set up a system there. So can we say, yes, you are the CFO, you are the whatever, But your compensation is based on what strategic decisions you bring, what strategic actions you bring. And by the way, who says the decision should be made by you alone? Decision-making can come from the bottom. And if you actually involve people from the bottom, you may probably be able to get sometimes maybe better decisions and you minimize your risk. So if we can distribute the decision-making and we can create a system where there is a distribution of the responsibilities and the risks and the rewards are fairly distributed, it would minimize this attachment to position where you say, okay, if things go wrong, I am going to be in trouble. So pay me, even though nothing has gone wrong, even though pay me to make sure, so insure me. But a driver that drives and who can die on the road, his children doesn't have insurance or medical care or school. But so we are not minimizing the need for compensating people who are thinking, but we are saying that the thinking is not done because you have a title. The thinking is not done because you have a position. In fact, set up a team of young people, and I just came from Kenya, and we visited Safaricom. We had another leadership conference. We called it Made in Africa Leadership Conference. Very powerful conference. We visited Safaricom. They have just a team of young people, and they come up with great ideas, innovations, and they reward them handsomely. Yes, it's not because they have title. They have no title. They're just put there as, to brainstorm and come up with ideas. It is not the title that makes a man. It's the man that makes the title. So that's what we are saying. Look out for people who are delivering, who are doing good work, who are giving you value. And let's set up a system that helps. Instead of a hierarchical system, if you're not at this level, you're not at the table to decide. That is where the challenge is. But we're not saying that if somebody is there and he's giving good decisions and taking risks, we shouldn't compensate him. Yes, by all means compensate, but it should not be because he has a title. It should be because he's delivering. That's the challenge we have to grapple with. So Perpetua, thank you so much. Great ideas. That's the debate we are all trying to see, and for HR to see how do we do it. All right, thank you so much. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Ophelia is raising her hand.
Okay, Ophelia. And I see okay, Ophelia. Ophelia, let's go.
Yes, thank you, Emmeline. I want to also, I don't know if someone already asked, but I'm still going to go ahead and ask. I'm asking on the back of the example you made with the driver, for instance. So for the fear of creating wrong precedents, just thinking, how do you go about the issue of efficient staff, great talent that are not interested in aspiring to exco or management? And yet, they deserve their performance and the years they've invested. They also deserve to have their compensation adjusted periodically. But you also don't want because there's this precedent of people thinking, I clocked the years, give me the upward adjustment. I'm not making any impact, but I'm just here 10 years and just increase, versus someone who is making an impact with each of the 10 years they've spent. How do you avoid setting the wrong precedent and getting people entitled to that mindset by still addressing the people who still don't want to ascend to management, addressing them, getting them satisfied so they don't lose good talent, but also still filling the gap where they don't want to go because they're just not interested, getting someone to fill that gap, and yet also getting them satisfied without feeling like I'm ahead of this person, but he's earning more or almost the same as me. How do we sort of tackle it without creating wrong blood, for lack of a better expression?
Okay. So it's a complete mindset change. It's a complete system that we need to overhaul. And the system should be based on performance and delivery, not how many years you've been here, And the guy who doesn't want to move, and if we're saying compensation, it's not because he's been here for 20 years. It's because this is what he loves to do, and he's doing it well. So if we can create a system which is based on performance, and the performance are properly defined, clearly we know this is what the person is doing. And everybody knows. And that's the point, because sometimes we keep everything at the ESCO level. And recently I was reading somewhere, 80 to 90% of the things that we say are confidential and we keep at some ESCO level and nobody should know are not confidential. Okay, they're not. They don't add any value. But if we can have an open organization, open system that we all discuss and agree, and we know what are the deliverables, what are the teams, what are they supposed to, and if you're bringing in this is what you're getting, and so on and so forth. And everybody has signed up to a system that rewards performance as against position and titles. And if you are in a position and you're not delivering, there is a way to moderate. So this is a complete system different from, that's when I say the hierarchies gives you certainty. You can go and sleep because somebody is on that platform, that's his salary. But if you have to do a whole system of flexible compensation, it's going to be probably a lot of work. And so we don't want it. So that's the benefit of having these systems fixed, and we don't want to touch it. But if we're going to look at what is going on now in our current environment, the Gen Zs that are coming, their attitude to work. I mean, somebody went for an interview, a young guy went for an interview, and at the end they said, "Do you have any questions?" He says, "Yes." How many hours do I have to work? So, well, in this, we come to work at 8 and we close at 5. So I should come and sit here from 8 to 5. What would I be doing from 8 to 5? In the interview, no, I don't want this job. If that is how it is, I don't want this job. The young people don't want that kind of job. Until COVID, we were insisting people have to come and sit in some place and work. Today, we know that work is not where you go. So we need a mindset change. We need to begin to think differently and begin to be innovative and creative as to what systems we can bring. Okay, so it's a debate we are introducing. As I said from the beginning, this is just to challenge the system and to help us to think about a proper way or different ways of addressing it, organization by organization. Some organizations have started already. Okay, there are different concepts: the flat organization, the open organization, self-led organization. They have different systems that people are experimenting with. And based on your organization, you want to experiment with some of them and see. Ophelia, I hope it helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Samuel.
Okay, Kojo.
Samuel, good evening. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thanks.
And thanks to the team. I think that what you are sharing with us is very important, but it's quite new, in instances where people must adapt to new way of life, because you are talking about change. Sometimes, if there is not a lot of maybe practical steps that we are taking the people through to see how these things have worked and all of that, it's difficult to appreciate it. Maybe in another presentation, we may want to take a company who has run the system you are talking about, and begin to show us how they went through the process and the results. Then that makes it so clear for many of us. In as much as it sounds so beautiful and all of that, we are not able to appreciate it, because you have worked so many years in your life, raising through the ranks, and now the level you are comes with certain benefits and all of that. And the culture in Ghana, in the African setting, has always taught us that this is how it is. Then suddenly you are looking at, okay, can we also look at those at the lower level and begin to run a certain system? It becomes so difficult to want to understand that, so maybe if we have like a case study, you take a company, a number of them, practical steps, regarding these things, because they sound nice. And it looks like maybe in the Western world, these things have been practiced and they've seen the results. So we can better appreciate the steps, the processes, the approach you are talking about, and begin to run them. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Kojo, and I agree with you 100%. This is it's not something that you just can pick it and plug it. Number two is because we've run, like you said, we've run this over, and this is how we need it. And it's just like maybe we need COVID, to be able to change. It's just like before COVID came, we thought that if you don't come to the office, it's sacrilege. But when COVID came, we found out we can work from home. And today, some organizations have adopted to it. Organizations have started using flexible hours. This 5 to 8, it's actually 5 to 8. That's what we know. But it's changing. And we are having new people coming into the workplace who have different perspectives. I mean, in the olden days, it was loyalty. If you stay in an organization for 20 years, then you are a lawyer and they will reward you for it. Today, if you go for an interview and you say you've been there for 10 years, they are looking at you 10 years. What were you doing there? But you say, I did 3 years here, 4 years here, 3 years there. Oh, he has a wide range of experience and exposure. That's the value. So these things is to challenge our thinking of how things are done. And usually leaders talk about change. I mean, organizational leaders talk about change. But they want the change for some other people, not for themselves. And so because these things we are talking about is going to affect those of us here around this table, because we are the ones who sit in ESCO and who get the bonuses and who get the big packages. This means if we're going to change and have a system where, hey, my role, my position is not that important, but I now have to work and get something, hey, then we go to school, because our concept of going to the school and getting the certification is that you get a position and the title comes with it, and money comes with that, and car comes with it, and housing allowance comes with it. And we've created all that for ourselves, just like the parliamentarians and the politicians have created ex gratia and things for themselves. And it's difficult for them to change. But you who is not benefiting, you are sitting there and say, why is it difficult to change? They should change it. All of us are suffering. Why are they not doing it? But when you come to corporate life, we are doing the same thing. As ESCOs and this thing, we created things for ourselves and we don't want to change. And when the juniors are saying, why is it that your children go to school for free and my children don't go to school? You say, I'm senior. Hey, keep quiet. This thing has been there forever. Is that it? Is that leadership? And that is the kind of mindset we're thinking, we're suggesting we should begin to review. Yes, the practicalities we have to work through. Every organization will be different. And yes, there are organizations. Just Google and you will see the debate. There are articles, several articles from Harvard Review for different organizations about titles and how organizations are beginning to transform their structures to minimize. They have something called flat organizations, different types of organization. Even the way we write the organization structure is changing in several organizations. So let's come to the table because things are changing so that we don't see, this is to generate the discussion, generate thinking, so we can all begin to learn and study. All right. Somebody says, but the Western world are calling back workers to work from the office. Yes, I read an article where a company called for people to come back to the office or work from home and forfeit promotions. And it's a huge percentage of them. Yes, in some, depending upon the roles that are being played, of course, you cannot say a driver to drive from home. So depending upon the roles people are playing, they may still have to go to the office. So these things are not black and white. So yes, some organizations may go to work, but some organizations are still working from home. So it depends on your organization. Say, please, can the leadership event details be shared again? All right. So I asked Joy to join. Joy, if you don't mind, maybe you can just post the brochure also on the chat for people to download. They
He has
can.
actually done that, but I will share it again on the platform.
All right. that'll be-
Joy has shared the brochure, so you can scroll on the chat, everyone, to download it. If not, we will send it on the platform via email. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Good. I think I'm outliving my usefulness here, Emmeline.
Why not at all. Not at all. But thank you so much, Samuel. We really appreciate, all your what you've shared with us tonight. And also to the team for the, interesting questions and contributions. And, mostly to thank you for staying over the time. It's 8:32 by my watch, and we're still here. The 80 or 79 people we started with are still in the session, and that tells you how interesting the conversations have been. We're really grateful to you, Samuel, and also to the team, and also to everyone that joined. I think at this point, we'd like to say good night, and everyone have a blessed week ahead. Thank you, and bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vonnie.